April 17th, 1943, 0211 hours, North Atlantic. The sea is black, ink thick and restless, rolling beneath a low ceiling of clouds that blot out the moon. Cold wind slices across the deck of U-boat U-317, rattling loose fittings, carrying the sharp smell of diesel and salt.
Kapitänleutnant Ernst Keller stands im conning tower. Collar turned up, binoculars pressed to his eyes. His breath fogs the lenses. Somewhere beyond the darkness, Allied shipping.
A radio man climbs the ladder, breathless. Herr Kapitän, message from BDU. Keller lowers the binoculars slowly. Around him, the night feels suddenly smaller. The message is brief, too brief. All Allied hunter-killer group operate. False alarms had become common in 1943. The Allies flooded the Atlantic with warnings, decoys, phantom contacts. Intelligence arrived late or wrong. And Keller knows something else. He's already spent 6 weeks. The engine's slow. Depth 60 meters, the watch officer calls. U-317 slips beneath the surface, steel hull groaning as pressure builds. The engine's slow. Keller descends into the control room, the heart of the boat. Red lights glow dimly, casting long shadows over gauges and valves. The sound of the sea fades, replaced by the steady mechanical pulse of electric motors. A sonar operator stiffens. Hydrophone contact, faint, bearing 270. Keller steps closer. Speed? Hard to tell, sir. Could be merchant, could be escort. The warning message hangs unspoken in the air. 11 minutes earlier, Keller had been given a chance to disappear into the Atlantic's vastness. Now, the ocean is listening. Hold depth, Keller says. Calm, controlled. No course change. You can almost feel the tension tightening, like a hand around the throat. Another sonar report. Multiple screws, sir. At least 2, maybe 3. That changes things. These aren't merchants. Destroyers. Keller's jaw tightens. If they're here, they're hunting. But hunters need certainty, a contact, a mistake, and Keller believes he's made none. Silent running, he orders. Motors slow to a whisper. Men freeze in place. Even breathing feels too loud. A wrench slips from someone's hand, clatters once, then silence. Minutes stretch. Then it comes, a sharp metallic ping. Active sonar. It slices through the hull, precise and deliberate, not searching wildly, not guessing. Locked. The sonar operator's voice drops to a whisper. They're close, sir. Keller's eyes flick to the depth gauge, 60 meters, safe. For now. Another ping, louder, then another. The destroyers are tightening the circle. Still, no depth charges. Keller makes his decision. They haven't confirmed us, he says. Maintain course. Somewhere in the boat, a sailor crosses himself. The next sound is not a ping. It's the deep, hollow thump of a charge entering the water. Then another. Then several more. Brace! The first explosion hits wide, but close enough to shake dust from the overhead pipes. Lights flicker. Men are thrown against bulkheads. The boat screams, metal flexing under sudden pressure. Damage report, Keller shouts. Minor leaks forward compartment. Another explosion, closer this time. The warning from BDU is no longer theoretical, no longer distant. It's here. Depth charges walk toward the submarine, each one calibrated, each one deadly. Down angle 5 degrees, Keller orders. Take her deeper. The needle drops, 70 meters, 80. A final sonar ping cuts through the chaos. They know exactly where U-317 is. And then The ocean seems to inhale, because the next 11 minutes will decide whether Ernst Keller and his crew ever surface again. The depth gauge needle slides past 90 meters. The pressure outside U-317 is no longer theoretical. It's physical, crushing, relentless. Every additional meter feels like a hand tightening around the hull.
Electric motors, full, Keller orders. The boat tilts downward, bow first, slipping into darker water where light has never mattered and mistakes are never forgiven. Another explosion detonates closer than the last. The shockwave punches through the submarine. Men are thrown off their feet. A valve bursts. Steam hisses violently before someone slams it shut. The lights flicker, then stabilize in a sickly red glow.
Leak in aft torpedo room. Bulkhead holding. Compass is fluctuating. Voices overlap. Controlled panic. Keller groups the periscope housing to steady himself. His face is pale now, jaw locked. The calm certainty from minutes earlier has evaporated, replaced by calculation, pure survival math.
He knows Allied destroyers have improved. They don't scatter depth charges anymore. They pattern them, walk them in, herd the submarine like prey. And they don't stop after one pass. Another explosion, much closer. The deck plates jump beneath Keller's boots. The hull groans, a deep metallic moan that no man aboard will ever forget. It sounds alive, injured.
Depth? Keller snaps. 105 meters, 107. U-317 was rated for 100 meters. Everything beyond that is borrowed time. The sonar operator suddenly looks up, eyes wide. "Sir, new contact, aircraft above." Keller's blood runs cold. Aircraft mean flares, radar, precise vectors fed straight to the destroyers below. The warning message from BDU returns to him now, not as text, but as accusation. Extreme caution advised. Too late.
Rig for depth charge attack, Keller orders. Secure everything. Men scramble, tying down loose equipment, bracing themselves against walls slick with condensation. Sweat beads on foreheads despite the cold. The engines hum, then falter. Motor 2 overheating. Shut it down, Keller says instantly. The boat slows. Silence returns, but now it's dangerous. A wounded silence. The destroyers above adjust course. They can hear the submarine's heartbeat. Ping. Closer than ever. Then the charges come. Not one, not three, a full spread. The first detonates directly above U-317. The blast is catastrophic. Lights go out completely. The submarine is thrown sideways, men slammed into steel like rag dolls. A pipe ruptures, water sprays violently into the control room. "Emergency lighting," someone screams. Dim bulbs flicker on, barely illuminating faces twisted in fear. The second explosion follows before the boat can recover. A seam splits along the hull plating. Water begins to pour in. Not a leak, but a stream. Aft compartment's flooding. Keller doesn't hesitate. Seal it. Seal it now. A young sailor spins the wheel, hands shaking. The hatch slams shut just as water surges against it from the other side. Men are trapped back there. There's no time to acknowledge it. Another blast, closer still. The depth gauge needle jumps wildly. 120 meters. The boat shudders, metal screaming as rivets strain under impossible pressure. Paint flakes rain from the ceiling. Someone starts praying out loud. Keller's voice cuts through it, sharp, controlled. Blow ballast forward only. Compressed air roars through the tanks. The submarine lurches upwards slightly, then steadies. For a brief moment, the explosions stop. Only the sound of creaking steel remains. Silence. The destroyers circle. Above them, Allied officers lean over sonar screens, tracing the ghost below the waves. They know the signs. A damaged U-boat doesn't run. It sinks or hides. They wait. Inside U-317, the crew waits too. Oxygen is thinning, carbon dioxide thickens the air, every breath tastes stale, metallic. The sonar operator whispers, "They're repositioning." Keller closes his eyes for half a second. He considers surfacing, fighting, dying quickly. He considers diving deeper into depths the boat was never meant to endure. 11 minutes ago, withdrawal had been an option. Now there are only bad choices. "Down angle 3 degrees, Keller says quietly. "Take her deeper, slow." The needle moves again. 125. 130. Every man aboard knows the number. 130 meters is where U-boat hulls begin to fail, not explosively, but suddenly. One crack becomes many. The sea doesn't rush in. It claims you. A sharp metallic crack echoes through the boat. Everyone freezes. Another follows, louder. Water beads through a seam near the forward compartment. Just droplets, for now. Then the sonar operator speaks, voice barely audible. "Sir, I've lost them." No pings, no screws, nothing. The destroyers have stopped transmitting. Either they believe U-317 is already dead, or they are lining up something far worse. Keller stares at the depth gauge, sweat running down his temple. Because the ocean is quiet now. And in war, silence is never mercy. Silence stretches, unnatural, suffocating. No sonar pings, no engine noise, just the slow, ominous creak of steel under pressure. U-317 drifts at 130 meters, suspended in a cold, lightless void. The boat isn't moving forward anymore, it's barely moving at all, hovering, wounded, waiting. Inside, time loses meaning. A sailor checks his watch out of habit. The second hand ticks too loudly. He slips it into his pocket, ashamed. Water continues to seep through the hull in thin, mocking lines. Not enough to panic, yet. Enough to remind everyone that the Atlantic is patient. Keller moves through the control room, hand brushing bulkheads as if the steel itself might answer him. His face is drawn, eyes sunken, but his voice remains steady. "Oxygen levels? Dropping, sir. CO2 rising." "How long?" The engineer hesitates. "An hour, maybe less, if we don't move." An hour is a lifetime in combat. Above them, Allied destroyers have gone quiet. This is no accident. By 1943, hunter-killer groups had learned the psychology of U-boat crews. Silence forces mistakes, forces movement, and movement gives you away. The hydrophone operator suddenly stiffens. Very faint screws, dead slow. Keller stops. Range? Hard to say. They're listening too. A trap. If Keller moves, the destroyers hear him. If he stays, oxygen runs out, or the hull gives way. Another metallic crack echoes through the boat, louder than before. A sailor whispers, "She's breaking." Keller knows the sound. It's not damage from explosions. It's fatigue. The steel is protesting against physics itself. He makes his decision. "Prepare to surface," he says. The words hang in the air, heavy. Surfacing now means facing destroyers, aircraft, guns, radar. It means almost certain destruction. But staying means something worse, drowning in darkness, unheard, unremembered. "Blow main ballast," Keller orders. Compressed air roars through the tanks. The submarine shudders violently as water is forced out. The bow lifts. For a moment, nothing happens. Then U-317 begins to rise. Slowly at first, painfully. The depth gauge climbs. 128, 125. The hull groans in protest, but the pressure eases slightly. Men exchange glances, hope flickering, where fear lived seconds ago. Then, ping, active sonar, so loud it feels like it's inside the boat. They've been waiting for this. Full power, Keller shouts. Up angle 5 degrees. The motors strain, coughing to life. The submarine surges upward, but it's too late. Depth charges explode again. This time, they are perfectly placed. The first blast hits beneath the stern. The impact is catastrophic.
U-317 is lifted violently, then slammed downward. Men are thrown across the compartment. A control panel rips free, smashing into an engineer's chest. The lights die. Permanently. Emergency lamps flicker on and off, then vanish. Darkness swallows the boat. Only screams and rushing water remain. Flooding! Stern compartments lost! Another explosion follows instantly. The hull finally gives way. Not in one dramatic rupture, but in a series of sickening tears. Steel peels back, seams unzip. The Atlantic pours in with unstoppable force. The submarine tilts sharply, nose up, stern down. Men scramble upwards, slipping on wet steel, hands grasping for ladders that are already underwater. Keller is thrown against the periscope housing. He struggles to his feet, blood streaming from a cut above his eye. He knows. This is it. "Abandon ship!" someone screams. There is nowhere to go. The pressure equalizes violently. Compartments implode. Air pockets collapse with thunderous force, crushing everything inside. The ocean doesn't rush in anymore. It devours. Within seconds, U-317 is no longer a submarine. It is twisted debris, tumbling silently toward the seabed. Above, the sea surface barely ripples. No explosion breaks the waves. No fire, no smoke. Just an oil slick spreading slowly across the dark Atlantic. Allied sonar operators mark the contact as destroyed. Time of loss, 0222 hours. Exactly 11 minutes after the warning was ignored. Ernst Keller and his crew vanish without a distress signal. No survivors, no last message. Only coordinates. But months later, something about U-317 will begin to trouble Allied intelligence. Because not everything that sank that night stayed buried. June 1943, Liverpool, England. Rain taps softly against the windows of a low brick building near the docks. Inside, the air smells of damp paper, tobacco, and old coffee. Naval intelligence officers sit hunched over desks cluttered with maps of the Atlantic, red pins marking U-boat kills, blue lines tracing convoy routes. On one desk lies a thin brown folder. Stamped in black ink, U-317, confirmed destroyed. Lieutenant Commander Arthur Hale flips it open. He's seen hundreds like it. Most never change after that stamp. A U-boat sinks, the ocean closes, and the war moves on. But this one is different. Because 3 days ago, a trawler out of Belfast Law hauled something aboard that didn't belong to the sea. A leather-bound logbook. Waterlogged, swollen, stained with oil and salt, yet somehow intact. Hale turns the pages carefully. The ink has bled, but much of it remains legible. Dates, coordinates, patrol notes, and then a final entry. 17 April, 1943. Warning received from BDU. Enemy presence suspected. Maintaining patrol. Hale reads it twice. He checks the timestamp. 0211 hours. The same minute the warning had been transmitted. His stomach tightens. Intelligence analysts gather around. Silence fills the room as they piece it together.
The destroyer logs, the aircraft reports, the sonar confirmation. U-317 was destroyed at 0222. 11 minutes. Someone had known, someone had warned them, and the warning was ignored.
The logbook reveals more. Sketched diagrams of convoy routes, notes about radio silence, a pattern of calculated risk-taking. Keller had not been reckless. He had been confident. Too confident. The book closes with a soft thud.
Out at sea, Allied crews continue the hunt, unaware that the war beneath the waves is changing. New sonar, new tactics, relentless pressure. The Atlantic is no longer a place where U-boats disappear easily. Sometimes it gives pieces back. Weeks later, British divers descend on the wreck site, not to recover bodies, but to confirm the kill. The twisted remains of U-317 lie scattered across the seabed, hull split open like a peeled shell. No escape hatches opened, no signs of survival, just silence.
Back in Germany, Keller's family receives a thin envelope. No details, no explanation. Missing in action, presumed dead. His wife reads it once, then folds it neatly, placing it in a drawer with other things that will never be answered.
The war moves on. But within BDU headquarters, the loss of U-317 becomes a case study, a warning transmitted, a response delayed, a captain's judgment weighed against new realities. From then on, procedures change. Warnings are no longer suggestions, they are orders. Because 11 minutes in the Atlantic can be the difference between returning home and vanishing without a trace. The ocean remembers those minutes, and it does not give them back.